OSCE SMM activity, and I give floor to Mr. Alexander Haag, Deputy Chief Monitor of the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission. Доброго дня, шановні колеги.
Briefing of the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission to Ukraine. As you know, the Chief Monitor, Ambassador Apakan, has visited Mariupol yesterday, where he met with the patrolling team, the monitoring team of the mission in the town, and where he was also able to find out firsthand the restriction of the movement that our patrols face on a daily basis. He then also managed to get a little bit more closer to the eastern part of the town, where he could observe from the distance the militarized activity in and around the town of Shirokino, just 10 kilometers outside the city borders of Mariupol. Monitors in the region continue to report ceasefire violations on a regular basis throughout the security zone. While the ceasefire is largely holding, there continue to be violations mainly in and around the airport of Donetsk and east of Mariupol. Last week, as you know, the OSCE Permanent Council in its regular session on that first day has in consensus approved an extension of the mandate of this mission for a full 12-month period, and has granted the Chief Monitor the flexibility to increase the number of monitors up to 1,000 if he deems that necessary and if the situation on the ground permit that. But it must be recognized that unless the security on the ground is appropriate and the monitors have free and unfettered access, an increase of monitors is very difficult and makes very little sense. By now, both sides to the conflict should have withdrawn their heavy weapons. However, the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission has been unable to verify a credible withdrawal because of a lack of cooperation on both sides. The OSCE Special Monitoring Mission continues to face unacceptable restrictions on its freedom of movement on both sides of the contact line. I have to note that Ukrainian armed forces are leading by example by giving us access to some of their storage sites of heavy weapons. The so-called Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republic should follow their example and give us full access. Our reports do not reveal the location of these sites, and we are keeping these confidential, as the Chief Monitor assured us in his letter to all sides that we would. However, the mission and the Chief Monitor is still awaiting a full response to the request he made in mid-February for substantial baseline information on the stocks of heavy weapons and the location from both sides. With the ceasefire as fragile as it is of utmost importance that we play a role in building trust between the sides. Only if the sides give us access and information to enable us to do our work, we can play this role. I repeat what we have been saying all along. The OSCE Special Monitoring Mission will not be simply rubber stamping the verification of heavy weapons withdrawal, nor will we stay silent when violence of our freedom of movement prevents us from doing the job we have been tasked by all the 57 OSCE participating states. As the Chief Monitor stated yesterday in Mariupol, with well over 1 million people displaced in Ukraine, that as much as IDPs yearn to return to their homes in Donetsk and Luhansk, they are fearful of doing so while shelling continues to rain down on their houses. They expect and deserve peace in order for them to return and resume their normal lives. While we applaud efforts by both sides to lay down their weapons, we still have a long way to go before credible confidence-building measures are firmly in place. The OSCE Special Monitoring Mission to Ukraine stands ready to perform the task entrusted to it in Minsk and by the participating states, and we will explore all avenues, including the use of high technology, in order to enhance our monitoring capabilities. As usual, I would like to end this short briefing with our latest mission strength numbers. At this moment, there are 460 monitors from 42 participating states in 10 locations, 350 of which is the planning figure, are now deployed to the Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. We are soon reaching the target that we have set ourselves before the expiry of the current mandate, that is of 500 monitors to be deployed to Ukraine. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Hogg. Any questions? Колеги, чи є запитання?
Hello, Ukrainian National News Agency. Do you know that terrorists crossed Seversky Donetsk? You know, why don't you? Do you know about the fact that terrorists in Lugansk region have crossed Seversky Donetsk river and trying to build an in that region? And if you know about that, why don't you report about that?
Thank you for the question. Any movement and any violations of the Minsk arrangements that we monitor, we are reporting about. There is no censorship in our reporting. Anything that we see, we do report, either in our daily reporting or then combined in our weekly reporting, both to the participating states, but also to the general public via our website. And should indeed this movement or any other movement that is not in compliance with the Minsk arrangement being seen or observed by our monitors, we will have it reflected in our reporting.
Thank you. We have another question.
Yes, hello. Thanks a lot for the briefing. My name is from Germany. I'm a former MP for the Green Party and very much involved in Ukraine partnership programs. We often hear in Germany that you are complaining, or that's what the left-wing people tell us, you're complaining about the security services from the US and the NATO and other Western countries, that they don't provide you with appropriate pictures and information. How much is that true, and how can the West definitely support you as the OSCE with better information? What's definitely necessary? Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the question. Indeed, the Minsk package agreed and signed on the 12th of February foresees that the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission can make use of high technology. Before that date, we have already deployed unarmed and unmanned aerial vehicles, referred to as the UAV. This is a private contractor that we have now deployed with these vehicles across the area where the government is not in control, and also in the area on the side where the government is in control. Since the 12th of February, we are in discussions with various participating states in terms of getting access to satellite imagery. At the moment, various participating states provide us this access, and at the moment we use this satellite imagery for planning and operational purposes in order to then direct our teams to certain locations should there be issues or concerns identified on this imagery that we would then control with our teams on the ground. I have to be very clear, as I have done before. Any satellite picture, any drone picture will not replace the patrols on the ground, especially in this environment where we now need to verify whether weapons are hidden away. We need to have free access, and this is why we make so loud this point, free access to the buildings, to the factories, to the mines. We need to go into forests, look under bridges, to be sure that weapons are not just being moved away and hidden away, but they actually being withdrawn. And this is what we need. We need this access, and the support we are getting, the technological support by the participating states, help us to direct these patrols to these areas. But again, both sides need to get us access to these places in order for us to be sure, to make sure that the weapons are away. Then one thing became very clear in the past months, during which these weapons had to be withdrawn. Both sides allege to us, to the public, that the other side is hiding weapons somewhere. Now, we would be there to dismantle these allegations, to show both sides that we have been there and that there aren't or there are weapons, but we can only do that if we have the access. The satellite picture cannot see into a factory where one or the other side alleges these weapons are hidden. So both sides need to get us this access, and only then we'll be able to actually verify that the weapons are away, which at the same time also builds then the trust between the two sides, because they don't need to be afraid that one or the other side is hiding the weapon nearby the contact line or in an area where it shouldn't be. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Mohammed Al-Baba, France 24 channel. I would just want to ask that there is, we heard about there is some private zones or some territoria which DNR and LNR don't give rights to OSCE to enter and check it. Is this true?
There are severe restrictions on this side not controlled by the government, that is true. The structure within the rebels' command area is not uniform, so we have different levels of cooperations in different areas, and we face regular access problems. I also want to make clear that any movement or most of the movements in the area not controlled by the government is normally done pre-arranged and with an escort by the rebel forces, and that in itself is a restriction, because of course it is pre-arranged and doesn't come unannounced. So that in itself is a restriction, regardless of the fact that we actually move around in the area. I have to add here that some of that is required for security reasons, but one should have it clear on one's mind that escorted and pre-arranged visits are a far step away from freely moving around in an area where we should have freedom of access and freedom to go wherever we want, whenever we want, to any location at our free will and decision.
You have this freedom?
No, this freedom is not fully granted. It is granted restricted, either through being escorted or not being given at all. Often also, and that applies to both sides, it is done upon security grounds. The government or the rebels say a certain road is mined, or there are elements that are not under the control of the respective forces. These justifications may delay our access, but it is up to the sides and up to the rebel forces, for instance, to demine the road where they claim it is mined and then grant us the access. We are not deminers, we are not a peace enforcing organization. We need unhindered, safe access at any time, and if there is a security risk, it's up to the parties to remove that risk so that we can get there.
Thank you. Next question, please. Колеги, чи є ще запитання? Okay, we have no more questions. Thank you for coming, Mr. Haag.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Our next briefing is at approximately